This morning. Thank you for joining us on air and streaming right now on our KARE 11 app. I'm Alicia Lewis alongside Cece Gaines.
Good morning. We do have team coverage tracking the latest election results and reaction from overnight in just a couple minutes. But first, we do have a traffic alerts we're following right now, actually a couple of them. It's been pretty busy out there. There was a vehicle fire not 20 minutes ago here in Bloomington. Highway 100 southbound at 494. You see that right lane closed right before the exit ramp, or right after the exit ramp to 494. The flames are out, which is the good sign, but because of the smoke and everything that was billowing, parts of 494 here were shut down. It looks like things are opening back up though this morning. There's a little bit of a slowdown in that area, so if you're heading out the door now, maybe already running late, Highway 62 would be a great alternate route, but it looks like they're clearing up that situation pretty nicely. Going over to Richfield, there was a semi on its side. It looks like crews were able to clear up that situation. This is Highway 62 westbound at 35W. It looks like that ramp may start to open back up soon there. But if you're in that area, hopping off highway would be a good option to start. Lindale Ave, Penn Ave would be a good idea to hop on to get back to 35W. If we take a look here at the bigger map, it looks like that's the only situation I'm seeing out there. Green out there for the most parts. All right, out to Jamie in the backyard. Pretty quiet in the weather department.
Yeah, fairly quiet for this morning, and sun's coming up in about 10 minutes right now. We'll take a look outside, take a look at those current conditions. 72 degrees, dew point at 60. And those winds will be light from the east today, primarily about 5 to 10 miles an hour. So we start out with numbers like 46 International Falls, Alexandria 66. 72 in Mankato, 70 for Jackson, Menominee at 67 degrees. You're going to feel the stuffiness if you are south of I-94. That's where those dew points are a bit higher. Right now, rain chances really dwindling as they're made their way in from North Dakota. Not really anticipating much rain until late tonight, which will break down coming up in the full forecast in a little bit. There's a look at your afternoon temperatures we're expecting to see. We'll send it back inside.
Jamie, thank you. Let's get back to Decision 2026 this morning. Right now, we're tracking the latest results in the Minnesota primary election just hours after the polls closed.
Yeah, like we mentioned, we do have team coverage with brand new reaction in the biggest races. First, let's start with Minnesota's next governor. In November, Minnesota electing its first woman for governor. Senator Amy Klobuchar taking the DFL ticket by a landslide with 89% of the vote. On the GOP side, Lisa Demuth is the winner with 43% of the vote. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, however, not conceding with 32%. Let's get out to Audrey Russo live at the Capitol with more on that race. Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning. Yeah, we know that the ballot for November is set. We knew pretty much by midnight that it was going to be a Klobuchar-Demuth race. Now, on the DFL side, Senator Amy Klobuchar's landslide victory was declared by the Associated Press around 8:30. She gave her victory speech, and shortly afterwards we caught up with her, and she talked about now her goal is uniting Minnesotans of all political persuasions under what she refers to as a growth agenda geared towards more jobs and lower health care costs.
We need to get to a higher plane in our politics. Someone's going to bring people with them, and that's what I plan to do.
Now, Klobuchar was joined by her running mate for lieutenant governor, former Fergus Falls Mayor Ben Shire. On the GOP side, Minnesota House Speaker Lisa Demuth had to wait a little longer for that moment in the spotlight. The Associated Press called the race for her and her running mate, attorney Ryan Wilson, around 10:30.
You know, I think this is our opportunity to really pull the state together as far as Republicans, independents that are looking, and maybe Democrats that have been disenfranchised.
And Demuth did have a little bit of a tougher primary fight. Remember, she didn't win the Minnesota GOP state party nod ahead of the primary. She didn't get President Donald Trump's endorsement. That went to former MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Now, he hasn't conceded the race yet, but we did catch up with him at an event last night. He said that he would support whoever won the nomination and was on the GOP side of the ticket come November. Back to you.
Audrey Russo live at the Capitol this morning. Thanks for that update. The extremely close primary race for governor in Wisconsin just called in the last couple of hours with 98% reporting. On the Democratic side, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, the projected winner with 40% of the vote. State Rep Francesca Hong, a Democrat socialist with 39%. Just over 3,000 votes is the difference there. He'll take on U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany, backed by President Trump, who easily won the Republican primary with 95% of the vote.
Back here in Minnesota, in the race for U.S. Senate, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan beating out Congresswoman Angie Craig for the Democratic nomination, 59% to 39%. On the Republican side, former sports broadcaster Michelle Tafoya won with 52% of the vote. Megan McPherson's joining us from the live desk now, tracking reaction in that race. Megan.
Yeah, so both primaries delivered some surprises. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan winning the DFL nomination over Congresswoman Angie Craig by nearly 20 percentage points, despite Craig significantly outspending her. This race highlighted a divide within the Democratic Party, with Flanagan backed by progressives like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. But on the Republican side, it's a historic result, the first time the party's endorsed U.S. Senate candidate has lost its primary. Former sportscaster Michelle Tafoya beating party-endorsed candidate Adam Schwarzy by more than 100,000 votes. After that race was called, Tafoya pointed to fraud, falling school scores, and crime, saying that it's time to send career politicians home, while Flanagan is framing this general election as a choice between Minnesota's interests and President Donald Trump's agenda.
They have brought us to the land of fraud. They have brought us to the place where our school scores are dropping. They have brought us to the place where crime is front and center on everyone's mind. This has all happened under their watch while they were in power. And so it is time to send them home, and it is time to have accountability, and it is time to try something new.
Minnesota can send another Donald Trump yes sir senator to do his bidding. Or we can insist on change and send someone who will always put Minnesota first.
Craig conceded the race and formally endorsed Flanagan just hours ago, offering her full and complete support for the general election and telling her supporters to do the same. We'll hear from her coming up in 30 minutes. Back to you.
Megan, thank you. And be sure to stick with us. We'll be checking back in on all the races and others throughout the show this morning. You can find the latest results right now on our website, KARE11.com/elections.
Let's get to some other headlines this morning. In just a few hours, Minneapolis will get its first look at Mayor Frey's 2027 budget for the city. The mayor's plan reportedly includes some big cuts to department budgets and major staff layoffs. The city facing a $33 million deficit. The mayor is looking at raising property taxes by double digits, between 11 and 13%. Mayor Frey's speech is set for 11 a.m. We've learned a firefighter battling wildfires up north has died. The Forestry Service says the firefighter was taken to the hospital for a medical emergency yesterday morning. Officials are working to notify family right now, but we know the victim is a contracted firefighter from Alaska. Right now, a convicted cop killer is staying behind bars. Minnesota's Supervised Release Board deferring Ronald Reed's parole decision until next month. Reed was convicted of killing St. Paul police officer James Sackett 20 years ago. At the parole hearing, it was a tie vote on a motion to create a one-year path toward Reed's release.